Hi everyone. Today we have the election results for the European Union elections of 2019, and it has been an amazing outcome. Although not probably as amazing as someone would have hoped. The turnout was 51%, and that was 8.5% higher than 2014, probably because of the Brexit issue. There was a lot of discussion in Europe probably about that. People got a little scared maybe to think about leaving as well. And I think also there have been more discussions about European issues like migration, like the rule of law in Eastern Europe. Of course, it's been a debate between the European Union and Hungary and Poland. Southern Europe, of course, we had this migration crisis in Italy, and you might as well say a revolt there that has come out of that. So there's a lot of polarization probably going on, a little bit more conflict, a little bit more to discuss about, but also more involvement. Now, what are the results? The Social Democrats and the Christian Democrats both lost 77 seats altogether, 38 by the Christian Democrats and 39 by the Social Democrats. So they both lost their majority. And that means that they will need a third party to get a majority in the Parliament of the European Union. And well, that's a change. That's really probably the biggest change you could mention here. The Liberals and the Eurosceptics, they both won as well. So the Liberals, Aldi, became third with 110, up 41 seats. That's probably because of En Marche from Macron, the French, and the Liberal Democrats in England, which of course is important because the Liberal Democrats might leave because of Brexit, and then they would lose again some seats, but they will be able to bring a majority into the European Parliament if the Social Democrats and the Christian Democrats would want that. Yeah, so then we have to talk about the Eurosceptic groups, or the European Union hating group, maybe you could call them. Salvini's group, they came up fourth, 71 up 35. And Hungary's Fidesz, of course, might just join the Salvini's group, which would give them an extra 13 seats to 84, as far as I know. Still, and that's a fourth group. Still not the greatest bloc, of course, but they are growing. The reason why they didn't win that much, I think, is because the turnout was 50%, 51%, but it's still not that high. And I think the Eurosceptics stayed at home because they're not interested, they're indifferent, maybe they feel powerless about the European Union, it's too far away, and that's probably bad for the Eurosceptics. All right, so then again, four out of the six biggest nations in Europe, the biggest party there was a populist Eurosceptic party or nationalist party. And we had, of course, France with Le Pen won, Salvini in Italy, Salvini won. We had Poland, Peace won, and England, of course, with the Brexit party. So I think that's concerning for the European Union. It is concerning not just because of the Parliament, the consequences there, which will not be that great, of course, because they won't have a majority or anything. They couldn't form a majority as well. But let's suppose that this will continue to go on. Then in these big nations, the head of the state could come from these big parties, these big nationalist populist parties, and they would be representative for the European Council, and they could have a big influence on what is going on in the European Union, and probably will block all the ideas for an ever-closing union and a super state or a federation state. So that, I think, is something to keep in mind. Even though for the parliament the consequences aren't that big, I guess the smaller countries, the smaller nations didn't vote that skeptic. Okay, so but overall you could say that there's no real change in pro-European Union or European skeptics. 2/3 is still pro-European, you might say, and 1/3 is skeptic or wants to leave. So, and that didn't change that much. So that's actually that's pretty amazing as far as I can tell. You could say though that the political landscape has been scattered around. It has been scattered like this has been going on in a lot of other nations as well. In my country, the Netherlands, for instance, a more scattered landscape. The big central political center parties lost the votes, and to the flanks, the populist nationalist party on the right, Green parties on the left, and this is what has been going on a lot in a lot of nations, and now again, finally as well in the European Union. So, what does that mean? That means if you have 1/3 of the parliament as being Eurosceptic, you are able to block, to become a blocking minority, that is called. But of course, you can, if they're smart enough and they work hard enough, they can pass these laws if they really want to. But everyone has to, most of the parliament members have to be present then, or the majority has to be present, and that's not that easy. So let's take Poland as an example now. It's an interesting nation. So I'm gonna talk about Eastern Europe now, and Poland is of course a very important country for the elections. Now, PiS was on 19 seats, and now they have 26 seats, which is an improvement of 7. That's enormous. Wow. And they are within the European group of conservatives and reformists. All right, yeah. So that's something. Now the other party that I can't pronounce that, European People's Party Group and Progressive Alliance for Social Democrats. So okay, so they're the middle parties. They are become the second party, Koalicja, coalition party, 22 seats, and of course before that they weren't a coalition, so it's very hard to compare. But that's about all. It's almost a two-party system there. I didn't know that. That's amazing. Well, anyway, what you could say there is, of course, this is a remarkable result. This is a nationalist party. PiS is a nationalist party, but not extreme right. So, but they're a skeptic, and that's one of the big nations that have become skeptic. Now, what are the problems in Eastern Europe? First of all, there's this migration problem. At least they don't want to take in any asylum seekers. So that's a big problem for them. So that's a conflict between the European Union and Eastern Europe. And the second problem is, of course, the rule of law, because they are, of course, Poland had a problem, Hungary had a problem. They've been investigated by Sargentini, which was a Dutch Green, from the Dutch Green Party, and which is a bit strange if you let a far left Green parliament member investigate a conservative right nationalist country. But these are the problems of Eastern Europe, and they have the biggest problem with them is not actually with migration, by the way, if you want to return to that subject, but the leaving of people, because people are leaving there to Western Europe to work, and they are the healthy, the strong, the intelligent, well educated, or at least they're capable of working. They're young mostly, and they are leaving en masse, and that's a problem for them. So those are the problems of Eastern Europe, and so I would assume that corruption plays a big role as well there. So the main parties lost, the Christian Democrats and the Social Democrats, and the Liberals, and some new parties came in place there. So Northern Europe, then nothing much changed in Northern Europe. There are more skeptical parties. Salvini's party became bigger because of the Danish. Denmark is an interesting party, by the way, because they had that's a really remarkable nation. Denmark is remarkable because the Social Democrats are the nationalists there. They want to stop migration, or at least they're very critical about it. It's the only socialist party in Europe, as far as I know, that has become nationalistic and anti-migration. And they have stabilized their position as well. So that's a unique thing. So if I was a Social Democrat and I wanted to win, I wanted to become the biggest party in Europe, I would definitely change my tactics on that one. I would change into a more nationalistic and more migration critical party. And you don't have to be a hardcore party. It's not necessary, but you could, but it's a possibility anyway. So so nothing much has changed there. I would say there's more skepticism towards the European Union. That's true. Southern Europe, of course, Italy, extremely big win there by Salvini. Let me take that. They had Salvini, the Democratic Party had 31 seats and now 18. And the Lega, they had, oh my God, they had 5 seats and now they have 28. It's huge. And the Five Star Movement, well, they had 17 seats and now they have 14 seats. So Lega Nord has won the elections big time. Nationalist party, populist party. Steve Bannon will be very, very happy. I'm for sure. Stevie. So that's Italy. We had, of course, another big country that was Spain, which was remarkable because there, no problems at all for the Socialist Party, for the Social Democratic Party at all. They even won. They became from 14 seats to 20 seats. People's Party, but they lost a little. So that's a really remarkable result. Of course, France, Le Pen against Macron. It has been a battle, but it was won by Le Pen. She won the elections 22 to 21 for Macron. Yeah, the Greens. There were also 12 seats. How big were they? 14. Yeah, they had 6 seats. That's something you see in the West. Also in Germany, the Greens are so big. They're extremely big. I'll come to that later. But anyway, so France, yeah. Le Pen won, and I've said it before, Le Pen could become the new president of France. And if that happens, that is going to change things altogether in the European Council, where, of course, the heads of states have a big influence on what the Commission will do and what kind of laws they are going to impose. To implement or to propose, because of course they can't decide over it. That's for the Parliament and the other council of ministers of the different nations. But it is very crucial to understand that Le Pen is possibly going to be the president, and well, you never know. There are some, of course, the remarkable results of the British. The Brexit, of course, they have won. Let me take a look. The Brexit Party has won 29 seats, Liberal Democrats 16, and the Labour 10. What did the Labour Party have last time? 20 seats, and the Conservative Party is completely shattered. They had 19 seats and now they have 4 seats. So that's 15 less. That's a lot. That's a whole lot. But the Brexit Party, of course, won. Well, it was to be expected. Nobody really knew or knows what is going to happen now. They're going to leave probably. So they're going to lose their seats. And they're not going to have any influence, I think, on the policy in the parliament. As far as I know, they're not allowed to. I don't know exactly how it's going to work. It's very uncertain. But I mean, the fact that they won, the Brexit Party has won, is a clear indication that they're probably going to go out with a no deal. And yeah, so that's the United Kingdom. It's a huge win. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The English people are simply fed up with the Conservatives and the Labour Party, because they just messed it all up. They just couldn't make a decision, and that's really bad. I mean, democracy is democracy. If you have a decision made, you cannot go back. You just simply go on and you leave. You do what you promised on the date that you promised. You can't take that back. And I think even the people who want to stay, there are enough reasonable people who would like to stay, but who would say, well, let's get out. Just simply to go forward. All right, so that's the United Kingdom. Western Europe, of course, we got the Social Democrats and the Christian Democrats going down pretty big. In Germany, we had a Christian Democratic Party that went down from 34 to 29. The Social Democrats lost from 27, went to 16. That's big. 11 seats down. And the Liberals win, and the Green Party has won 20 seats. It's an amazing achievement. They went from 11 to 20 seats. You only see that in Western Europe, by the way. It's really a Western Europe thing, the climate change idea. Okay, so the last thing I'd like to mention is that, of course, the Christian Democrats, although they lost votes, they still won the elections. They're the biggest party, and that means that Manfred Weber probably will be president of the European Commission. That's because they're the biggest party. That's not sure yet. It could become Timmermans, but I don't think so. So that's something I'd like to mention before I end this. Now, for an end note, I'd like to say this. For a lot of young people, the European Union is not a symbol of peace anymore, you could say. I've read that in an article in a newspaper, and I think that's true. It has become more of a symbol of conflict, because the European nations are so much different, and the political parties are becoming so much different in approach towards the European Union, that there's so much conflict and polarization going on, that for these young people, they don't remember that the European Union brought 70 years of peace. For them, it's just a short while, and in this short while, conflicts are growing. I think that's a problem. I mean, what are you going to do about that? You gotta understand that the European Union is if you sort of look at the differences between North, South, East, and West, there's a big difference, culturally and economically. The problem with the European Union is now, what is it exactly that binds us? What is the overall story? How are you going to unite all that? That's going to be really hard. What binds the Europeans? That's the big question to answer. And I don't have the answer yet. So I personally don't know about the answer to that. And I think actually you got to ask yourself if the European Union, as this project of an ever-closing union, is the way to go. Because just because of those differences. Now you had a lot of time, a lot of periods where there was peace, but now because of these differences, you see conflicts rising, and I wonder if that is the path, the way to go. I wonder if it's not better to more or less slow down, or even go back to a more of a project for you cooperate with each other on a national basis. I don't know. I don't know. At least the European Union should be reformed. We don't want a technocratic European Union. I think most people don't really want that. They want more sovereignty. A lot of people like to have their sovereignty back, and that's a note that I think should be considered um, by the European Union leaders. And before it's too late and the conflicts become too big, and then you got more problems than you would have had if you wouldn't have made this union as close as it is becoming now. So that's my view on the whole thing. I'm gonna do more videos later, but I'm not sure yet when exactly. But if there is some actual news or something important or interesting, I'm gonna make a video again. And I hope you give me some feedback, and I hope you'll watch then as well. Okay, bye bye.